Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into U.S. tariffs.
Ooh, tariffs.
Yeah, but specifically how they can really shake things up
Yeah.
for businesses, especially those massive retailers, the superstores,
Right.
and their really intricate supply chains.
Yeah.
Our main source material for this deep dive is u1.txt,
Okay.
which is going to give us a really practical look at how to navigate
Mm-hmm.
the very choppy waters
Uh-huh.
of international trade.
You know, it's funny because tariffs, they might sound a bit dry at first,
Yeah, I can see that.
but we all shop
That's true.
and we all see those price tags change, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And for superstores, those changes are happening like on a massive scale.
That's a good point.
It's all connected.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's really easy to feel removed from those global trade policies,
Yeah.
but then suddenly you're at the store,
Yeah.
and that notebook you always get is suddenly way more expensive.
Yeah.
And you think, what happened?
Right. Exactly.
And tariffs might just be the culprit.
They definitely can be.
Yeah.
A tariff is essentially like a tax on imported goods,
Okay.
and that can cause like a ripple effect through a
Yeah.
whole supply chain.
Oh, I see.
And our source material really dives into how those ripples
Yeah.
hit retailers
Like
who
a-
really rely on imports,
Right.
especially for things we use every day.
So let's break that down a little bit.
Okay.
Let's think about those customizable notebooks,
Okay.
planners, journals, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Things people use every day.
Right.
Imagine you're the superstore stocking those,
Mm-hmm.
and tariffs on those goods, they go up.
Oh.
What's your next move?
Well, now you're really in a tough spot.
Uh-oh.
Do you eat that increased cost
Yeah.
from the tariff,
Hmm.
which cuts into your profits?
Yeah.
Or do you raise prices for the customers
Yeah.
and risk, lower sales?
Yeah.
It's a really tricky balancing act.
Yeah, it's kind of a lose-lose.
Yeah, it is.
And that increased cost.
Uh-huh.
That's just the first domino to fall. Right.
Right.
Our source also highlighted those major disruptions.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen to the supply chain itself.
Absolutely.
Eh?
Yeah.
So walk me through that.
So think about those suppliers now getting hit with those tariffs.
Mhm.
So they might have to delay those shipments
Right.
or renegotiate contracts.
Okay.
And that usually leads to worse terms for that retailer.
Yeah, I see.
That smooth flow of goods gets all messed up.
Right.
And then you have delays,
Ah.
empty shelves, unhappy customers.
Not good.
Not good at all.
So it's just a scramble to adapt.
Yeah.
And finding new suppliers
Mm,
in countries with maybe lower tariffs,
right.
that's not an easy fix, is it?
No, definitely not a quick fix. There's
Yeah.
a lot more to it. You have to vet those suppliers,
Yeah.
make sure their quality is good,
Mhm.
make sure they can produce enough.
Yeah.
And building trust takes time.
Right.
It's not something you can change overnight.
You can't just flip a switch.
Exactly.
So tariffs, they kind of create this urgency
Yes.
for superstores to protect their bottom line
Mm-hmm.
while keeping customers happy.
Yeah,
It's a tough spot to be in.
for sure.
But in 1.txt, it also talks about
yeah.
turning these challenges into opportunities, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, that's where strategic thinking comes in.
Okay.
So instead of just reacting to every tariff change,
Mhm.
businesses can use this pressure
Okay.
to build stronger supply chains so
So-
they become more adaptable.
I see.
And they can weather those changes without massive disruptions.
It's like they're being proactive
Yes.
rather than reactive,
Well,
like
like-
anticipating the storm
Mm-hmm.
instead of just getting soaked when it hits.
I like that analogy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So our source outlines 4 key strategies
Okay.
for managing these tariff changes.
All right.
So let's dive into those.
Let's do it.
The first one is diversifying your supplier base.
Okay, so diversifying is about spreading the risk.
All right.
So instead of relying heavily on one region, like China,
Right.
for all your imports, the idea is to source from multiple places.
Okay.
Our source mentions Cambodia, Vietnam, and India
Oh, okay. Interesting.
as alternatives.
So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
But each country, they have their own pros and cons, right?
Of course.
Like Cambodia, I know they have lower labor costs than China,
They do, yeah.
which seems attractive,
Mm-hmm.
but their infrastructure might not be as developed.
All right.
So that could create some logistical issues.
Yeah, there are trade-offs.
Like Vietnam.
They've been investing a lot in infrastructure,
Oh, wow.
but their labor costs, they are going up.
Oh, okay.
And then you have India.
Yeah.
Huge potential market,
Mm-hmm.
but their regulations can be tricky.
Oh, I bet.
It's about weighing those trade-offs.
Picking the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Our source actually mentions a real-world example of this.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. Lion Paper, have you heard of them?
I have, yeah.
They make those customizable planners and journals
Right.
that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
They have production facilities in both China and Cambodia.
Smart.
So when the tariffs on Chinese goods rose, they were able to just shift production to Cambodia, staying agile.
That's really smart.
It is, right?
Yeah.
They were able to offer their clients lower prices, keep that supply chain flowing, prevent those major disruptions.
Yeah, it really shows the benefits of not being tied to one single source.
Exactly.
It also shows the importance of planning ahead and having those sources in place before a crisis hits.
That's huge.
Yeah, you don't want to be scrambling for solutions
Right.
when those tariffs are already impacting your business.
So diversification is key.
Definitely.
But what about those existing contracts with suppliers?
Right.
Let's move on to the second strategy.
Yeah.
Negotiating smarter contracts.
This is where those strong long-term relationships with your suppliers really pay off.
Yeah.
When you have that history of trust and collaboration, it gives you way more leverage when it's time to renegotiate in light of new tariffs.
It's not just about getting the best price. It's about those partnerships that can weather those storms together.
Exactly.
What are some specific tactics for negotiating smarter contracts?
So one tactic mentioned in the source is locking in fixed prices for a certain period.
Interesting.
So even if tariffs go up,
Yeah.
you're protected because that price is already agreed upon.
It's like a safety net.
Yeah, exactly.
It offers stability in a really unpredictable environment.
It does.
Are there other ways to share the burden of those tariff increases?
There are, yeah.
Okay.
Another tactic is tariff sharing arrangements, which means you work with the supplier to share the burden of those increased costs.
So both parties are kind of sharing the risk there.
Yeah, they both have skin in the game.
A win-win.
Exactly.
Where everyone benefits.
Yeah.
So strategy 2 is all about relationships and creative deal-making.
Yeah.
Now, strategy 3 brings us to inventory.
Okay.
This one focuses on being proactive, using past sales data to anticipate future demand.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing those patterns and stocking up on high-demand items before tariffs hit.
Oh.
So if you know that those customizable notebooks are going to fly off the shelves for back-to-school season, you buy them in bulk at a lower price before those tariffs go up.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's like buying in bulk at the grocery store.
Yeah.
You stock up when there's a sale and save money in the long run.
It's all about planning ahead.
It is.
And finally, strategy number 4, embracing technology.
Now this is where things get really exciting.
Ooh. Tell me more.
So the source points to AI-driven demand forecasting and blockchain for supply chain transparency.
Interesting.
As potential game changer.
Powerful tools.
Yeah, they are.
But for someone who might not be super tech savvy, how can AI and blockchain help with tariffs?
So AI is incredible at analyzing tons of data to spot trends and anticipate those shifts in demand. It's like having a crystal ball, right?
Yeah.
It gives businesses that heads up about potential disruptions so they can adjust accordingly.
So it's not just about reacting to what's already happened.
Yeah.
It's about predicting what might happen.
Exactly.
And preparing for it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is.
What about blockchain?
So imagine being able to track that notebook from that factory in Cambodia all the way to the customer's shopping cart.
Wow.
That's the kind of transparency blockchain offers. It creates a secure, traceable record.
That's huge.
Of every step in the supply chain.
And that increased visibility, that must be really valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It helps identify those potential bottlenecks or delays early on. So they can make faster, more informed decisions.
So you're taking control of your supply chain instead of just being at the mercy of circumstance.
Exactly.
So we have these 4 strategies. Diversifying, negotiating, optimizing, and embracing technology. But how do we know if they actually work? Our source dives into some hard data, right?
They do.
Okay, let's get into the numbers.
Okay.
What were some key insights that you found?
Well, first, it's important to note that tariffs, they aren't one size fits all. They vary by region, which highlights the value of diversification. For example, in 2024, the projected tariff rate for goods imported from China was 25%. While the rate for goods from Cambodia was only 12%.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is.
That could really affect those profit margins.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really emphasizes that spreading your risk across different sourcing locations could be a really smart move.
It could.
The data also shows a clear correlation between tariff increases and retail price hikes.
Okay.
For example, in 2019, when tariffs increased by 10%, retail prices went up by 5%.
Okay.
But in 2023, when tariffs jumped by 20%, retail prices rose by 12%.
Wow.
If I think about those journals,
a
12% price hike, I'd think twice about buying those.
Right.
Those numbers really hit home.
They do.
It's a reminder that these tariffs, they aren't just abstract policy decisions.
No.
They have consequences for businesses and consumers.
For sure.
What really brings this to life is the personal story our source shares about one of their clients.
Okay.
Involving a retailer specializing in customizable journals.
Okay.
Who was hit hard by those rising costs due to tariffs on Chinese goods.
That's rough.
Yeah.
It's the classic example of those data points turning into real struggles.
Right.
This retailer, they faced a tough choice. Absorb the costs and lose profit or raise prices and risk losing customers.
It puts you right in their shoes feeling that pressure.
Yeah.
So how did they navigate that?
So they partnered with Lion Paper.
Oh, wow.
The same company we talked about earlier.
Yeah, with facilities in China and Cambodia.
Exactly.
By shifting some of their production to the Cambodian factory, they were able to secure lower costs without having to compromise on quality.
That's a good move.
They diversified their production, just like that first strategy.
Exactly.
It sounds like they turned a potential disaster into a success story.
Yeah, they did.
Not only were they able to keep their prices competitive, they met their deadlines.
Yeah.
And even grew their market share.
Wow. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade.
Right.
Yeah.
Their story really shows that the right partnerships can be crucial.
They are.
In navigating these tough trade environments.
It shows that sometimes the best solution isn't going it alone, but finding partners who can provide that flexibility and resources.
To adapt and thrive.
Exactly.
It's about building a network of support and expertise that can help you weather any storm.
And that client story really brings that home.
It does.
Yeah.
So tariffs, they can really shake things up for businesses.
Definitely.
Especially those relying on global supply chains.
Yeah.
But as we learned, it's not just about weathering the storm.
Yeah.
It's about using these challenges to become stronger and more adaptable.
That's a really good point.
You know what I find fascinating?
What's that?
How something as abstract as a tariff can have a tangible impact on what we buy and how much we pay for things.
Right.
It underscores how connected our global economy is.
It really does.
And it makes me wonder, what are some other ways that businesses can stay ahead of these kinds of shifts?
That's a great question.
It's definitely something to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's always more to explore. And this deep dive has hopefully given you a good starting point for understanding this complex world
for sure
of tariffs and global trade.
Yeah.
So much to unpack.
I know, right? Awesome. So much to talk about. It really emphasizes the need for businesses to develop a more strategic and holistic view of their supply chains.
So it's not just about, hunting for the cheapest materials or the fastest shipping routes.
Yeah.
There's a bigger picture.
There is.
Like anticipating those disruptions and having backup plans.
Exactly. And that requires a different approach to suppliers, too.
Oh, okay. How so?
It's less about those transactional relationships and more about fostering those long-term collaborations built on trust and mutual benefit.
Because when those tariffs hit, having those strong partnerships to navigate the challenges makes all the difference.
It really does.
So tell me more about that.
It's those relationships that enable open communication, fair negotiations, finding those creative solutions together.
Like you're facing the storm as a team.
Yeah.
Not just individual ships.
I like that.
But let's zoom out a bit.
Okay.
How do these tariff wars and these supply chain disruptions, how do they actually affect the everyday person?
That's a great question.
It's easy to get lost in the business side.
It is.
But how does this impact the average consumer?
Well, the reality is those global trade policies, they directly impact what we buy. The prices we pay. Even what's available to us as consumers.
So that price jump on my favorite notebook?
Yeah.
Or that new gadget that suddenly delayed? Could those be those tariff ripples?
They absolutely could.
Wow.
And it's not just individual products, but whole industries. Like imagine tariffs on steel and aluminum.
Okay.
Suddenly, construction costs skyrocket.
Yeah.
Which could lead to higher housing prices.
Right.
Or delays in infrastructure projects.
It's mind-boggling how interconnected everything is.
It really is.
We're not just passive bystanders.
We're not.
Our choices have an impact.
They do. Being mindful of where our products come from, understanding the impact of our choices, supporting businesses committed to ethical and sustainable sourcing, all of that contributes to a more responsible and resilient global trade system.
It's not just what we buy. It's how and from whom.
Exactly.
Our source really emphasizes this idea of resilience.
Yes.
It's not just about weathering the storm, but emerging stronger.
Resilience is about anticipating those challenges, having that flexibility to adapt, and the ability to bounce back from setbacks.
It's a crucial quality.
It is.
In a world that throws curveballs.
All the time.
So if we had to break this down into key takeaways for our listeners, what would those be?
I'd say the first takeaway is this.
Yeah.
Tariffs and trade policies, they have real-world consequences for all of us.
Not just businesses.
Not just businesses. They affect what we buy, how much things cost, even what's available.
It's about recognizing that these aren't just abstract concepts.
They're not. They have a direct impact on our lives.
What's the second takeaway?
Resilience is key. In a world full of volatility, businesses need to anticipate, adapt, and bounce back.
And those 4 strategies we talked about.
Yeah.
Diversifying, negotiating, optimizing, embracing technology. Those are all about building resilience.
Precisely.
And the final takeaway?
Collaboration. Building strong relationships with suppliers. Staying open to creative solutions. Working together.
Finding those win-win outcomes.
Exactly. It all makes a difference.
It's about cooperation.
Yes.
Not just competition.
Right.
We're all in this together.
We are.
And we can create a more stable and sustainable global trade system by working together.
I'm actually really inspired by the businesses and individuals out there who are committed to doing things differently, finding those creative solutions and building more resilient systems.
It's about seeing those challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to grow and innovate.
I love that.
So even with all these challenges, there's a lot to be optimistic about.
There is. What gives me hope is that human capacity for ingenuity and resilience, our ability to adapt, innovate, and find solutions, that's always driven progress.
And that same spirit will guide us as we navigate those unknown waters ahead.
It will.
This deep dive has been so insightful.
It has.
But it's also left me with a lot of questions.
What kind of questions?
Well, I'm thinking about the long-term implications of all of this. How will these ongoing trade tensions and geopolitical shifts, how will they reshape global supply chains in the coming years?
That's the million-dollar question. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, but one thing is clear.
What's that?
The old ways of doing things, they just aren't sustainable anymore.
So we're in this period of transition.
We are.
And those who adapt and evolve, they're the ones who come out on top.
Exactly. We're already seeing a move towards more regionalized and localized production.
Interesting.
More emphasis on sustainability, ethical sourcing, and a growing demand for transparency.
It sounds like the future of global trade is going to be shaped by this complex interplay of economic, geopolitical, and ethical considerations.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating and complex landscape to navigate.
It is.
Which is why these deep dives are so valuable.
They really help us break these issues down.
And make sense of it all.
It's through these conversations, exploring those diverse viewpoints, challenging our assumptions that we can better understand the world.
And find our way forward.
Exactly.
So where do we go from here?
That's a good question.
What are some things to watch for as this global trade landscape evolves?
I think keeping an eye on new technologies. And how they're being used to create more efficient, transparent, and sustainable supply chains.
So you talked about AI and blockchain. What other advancements are there?
Well, there's a lot of buzz around 3D printing.
Oh, yeah.
And how it could revolutionize manufacturing.
Interesting.
Imagine being able to print customized products on demand.
Wow.
Reducing the need for massive factories.
Yeah.
And long shipping routes.
That sounds so futuristic.
It does, but it's becoming more realistic every day.
Really?
Yeah. And there are advancements in robotics,
right,
automation, data analytics.
that are transforming how goods are produced, transported, consumed.
Technology is a major player
It is.
in shaping the future of global trade.
It is, but what about the human element?
Yeah, that's a good point.
How will these changes affect workers,
Yeah.
communities around the world?
That's a crucial question.
As automation and other technologies become more common, we have to think about job displacement.
Right.
We need to retrain those workers.
For the jobs of the future.
Exactly. It's not just about the technology. It's about social innovation, too.
Finding solutions that benefit both businesses and workers.
Yes.
Promote economic growth while protecting people.
Right. It's a tall order.
It is.
It seems the future of global trade will be shaped by this dance between technology, social change, and ethical considerations.
A lot to consider.
It is, and that's why deep dives like this are important.
I agree. Engaging in these conversations.
Yeah.
Exploring different viewpoints. Challenging assumptions.
We can start envisioning a better future.
For everyone.
Exactly, despite the challenges.
Yeah.
There's room for hope.
Absolutely. What gives you hope?
Human ingenuity and resilience.
I like that.
Our ability to adapt, innovate, find solutions.
That's what drives progress.
And that same spirit will guide us
into the future.
I agree. This deep dive, it's highlighted those challenges, the opportunities, the importance of finding solutions that work for everyone.
I'm feeling inspired and motivated.
That's great.
To learn more, do more, be part of this.
That's what it's all about.
Shaping a more just and sustainable future.
We're not powerless.
We're not.
We all have a role to play.
Whether it's consumers, business leaders,
yeah,
or engaged citizens.
Exactly.
You know, one thing that's really stuck with me through this whole deep dive is just how interconnected everything is.
Right.
We often think of tariffs as like this abstract policy issue.
Yeah.
But the impact, it ripples through the whole global economy.
It does.
Affecting all of us.
Yeah, it's like that butterfly effect.
Right.
A small change in one place can trigger consequences elsewhere.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
And that's why understanding this is so important. Even if you're not directly involved in international trade.
Right.
You know, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
We're all part of this system.
We are. Our choices as consumers.
Yeah.
The businesses we support, the policies, it all matters.
It's bigger than just economics.
It is.
It ties into our values.
Yeah.
And our responsibilities as global citizens.
That's what makes this so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It's not just about the numbers. It's about people.
Yeah.
Their livelihoods, the kind of world we're building.
Yeah, I think there's a growing awareness of this.
I think so too.
We're seeing companies embracing ethical sourcing.
Yeah.
Prioritizing sustainability, being more transparent about those supply chains.
I think it's a positive shift.
Yeah.
And I think it's driven by a few things.
Okay, like what?
Consumer demand.
Right.
Regulatory pressures.
Right.
Businesses realizing that operating ethically, it's not just good practice, it's good business.
It's not just doing good.
No.
It's about doing well by doing good.
Exactly. Companies are realizing that sustainability, ethical practices, they're not just optional anymore.
Right.
They're crucial.
Which brings us back to resilience.
Yes.
It's not just about surviving. It's about thriving.
In a world that's always changing.
So what does that look like?
It means being adaptable.
Okay.
Innovative. Willing to embrace new ways of doing things.
The proactive.
Yes.
Anticipating challenges. Finding those solutions before they become crises.
Working together, sharing knowledge, building those strong partnerships that can weather the storms.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I would say the first one is stay informed.
Okay.
The landscape of global trade, it's complex, it's always changing.
It is.
Staying current on trends, policies, technologies, you can make better decisions.
So it's about being curious.
Yeah.
Asking those questions, seeking out different perspectives.
Exactly.
What's the second takeaway?
Think critically.
Okay.
Don't take things at face value.
Right.
Question those assumptions. Challenge conventional wisdom.
Yeah.
Consider the unintended consequences.
Okay.
Be a discerning consumer of information.
I like that.
Engage in those thoughtful dialogue.
What's the most crucial takeaway?
Be proactive.
Okay.
Don't wait for things to happen.
Right.
Anticipate those challenges. Seize opportunities. Be an active participant.
In shaping a better future.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing our role in this global system and making choices that align with our values.
I agree.
This deep dive has been incredibly enlightening.
It has.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey.
Yes, thank you.
We hope this deep dive gave you a better understanding of this intricate world of tariffs and global trade.
A fascinating world.
Inspiring you to stay informed.
Yeah.
Think critically and actively contribute to a more sustainable and equitable future.
Absolutely.
Until next time.